Rock and roll.
Unstoppable kick-ass confidence. Are you ready?
Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted Show with Christopher Rausch, where we help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. Now please welcome our host, Christopher Rausch.
And please welcome our host, Christopher Rausch. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Raw and Unscripted Show with yours truly, Christopher Rausch, your no excuses coach. And I'm at your place where I help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. We've been going now for 4 years here on the Raw and Unscripted Show, and we appreciate you guys coming in from all sorts of countries all around the world. I just want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you. I know we're in about 21, 23 different countries. I can't remember exactly right now at the top of my head, but I appreciate you guys tuning in from wherever you're at. Please send me an email, info@noexcusescoach.com. Send me an email. Let me know where you're from. Let me know what you're getting out of the show and how I can provide more service to you, because that's what this is all about. The Raw and Unscripted Show is all about me showing up here every single week, which I have done for 4 years, giving you guys the goods on what it is that you can do to use in your life right now that will propel you forward, that will change your attitude, that will increase your confidence, will increase your self-esteem, will allow you to ditch the excuses and ditch the tolerations in favor of getting results. Now, how many of you guys out there want to get some results? Say I. Right? Tony Robbins, if you've ever been to a Tony Robbins convention or a Tony Robbins seminar, he does that like every 3 minutes. Say I, and he does this clapping thing and stuff like that. I'm not here to make fun of Tony Robbins. I love Tony Robbins. I've been compared to him so many times in my life that sometimes it's a compliment until I find out that people don't like him. I'm like, well, don't compare me to him. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, whether you guys joining us live or on the replay or on the audio podcast, thank you guys. As always, you guys can ask us questions during the broadcast, even if it's on a replay. If you guys asked us questions in the comments, I'll make sure you guys get answers on that. We appreciate you guys so much. Something I haven't mentioned in a while that has kind of fallen off my radar is my book. It is going to be coming out this year. It's called It's Just You and Me, Kid. If you go to itsjustyoundmekid.com, you guys can help me make it a bestseller. There's some juicy info about what the book is all about. Obviously, if you guys are new to me and my story, you will be illuminated to the fact that I was a former 7th grade homeless dropout who lived in the backseat of a station wagon with lots of cats and lots of dogs. And I went through a lot of really terrible things that ultimately helped me become the man I am today. And I'm so excited to be getting that book out to you guys this year. It's a labor of love. It's been more labor than love, to be totally honest with you, but I've learned a lot of things about myself. And as a part of making it a bestseller with me, guys, going to the itsjustyoundmekid.com, I'm going to be sharing with you a lot of stories about the creation of the book, about the things that I've learned about the book, and I'm going to include you in a lot of different things to help me make it a bestseller. So if you go there, you'll see all the different things you put in your email, and you guys can be there and ride along with me. We've got David Libby in the house. What's up, David Libby? Thank you, brother, for being here. I appreciate you, man. We're going to dive right into this. I'm excited about this show tonight. I like talking to straight shooters, right? Obviously, I'm a straight shooter. I dig when I can get into conversations with people that are on the same wavelength as me, that it's not about the abruptness and it's not about the assertiveness or anything else. It's about the directness of the passion that we have, that we harness in order to make the world a better place without all the other fucking red tape and the bullshit. And this guy I've gotten to know over the last couple of years. I've been a guest on his show. We've had some great conversations. I see his heart. I see how he helps his community, his youth in his community, the veterans in his community. But more importantly, we're going to dig into the deeper part of what makes this guy tick, and it's going to help you guys tick at a higher level. So please welcome Mark Cox to the Raw and Unscripted Show. What's going on,
Hi.
Mr. Mark Cox?
Good evening. Good evening. How's everybody?
Everybody is fine. We got David Libby on the house. He said, "Hey, what's up?" He's tuning in. He is ready to be fired up. And my first question for you, Mr. Mark Cox, thank you for joining us, is what do you want to get across most to people tonight? With everything, you have your show Beyond the Mat, which we're going to talk about. But in your heart of hearts, what you're seeing going on in your world, what do you want people to walk away knowing and feeling in their heart of hearts of what they can accomplish in their lives?
It's a good question. You know, I've always got these philosophical stuff when I get up in the morning, like, what am I gonna go after today, or what am I gonna have somebody else go after today? And just like anything else, days come in, and I am telling you that the devil wants to trip you up on a daily. And so my mindset is this just happened today, as a matter of fact. And I was saying that the kids are out there doing what they do, yet they are just not giving it 100%. And I told them, I said, listen to me, whether you're mom and dads are on the sidelines. I said, listen, I'm going to talk to all of you, mom and dads. I'm going to talk to you, kids. I'm going to talk to you. You get up in the morning, you give half-assed work, you're going to get half-assed, gains. You can't get into this thing and then you want to become a black belt and then want to do it halfway. It's
Yeah.
either all way or no way. And so I think that's what my main thing is. Every time I kind of get up in the morning is I watch the potential of people on a daily basis and saying you're given half-ass effort when you're 100% person. You need to change that. That's what that's exactly what it was today for me.
I love that. What inspires you to think that way? Is that something that happened? Was that a lack situation in your childhood that caused you to be very assertive and very clear on what it is that you intend on doing? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, I can tell you right now, back exactly when I made a major mistake in my life.
Yeah.
And it I was asking, I really wanted to be in the Coast Guards. Is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a cop on the water. I remember watching it when I was about 18 years old. I remember them watching. They came in, they were spraying pot leaves on a boat. And so that's for every pound of pot they did and how many people they arrested, they would spray paint the pot leaf on the boat.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, man, I want to do that shit right there. And so I took the ASVAB test.
For what reason? What reason? Because I think I would have wanted it for a different reason.
Well, I wanted it because I said, well, always being a cop is something I wanted to do, right? And my demeanor back when I was younger just wasn't the right fit for what I should have been. I became one, a reserve cop in the early 2000s, but I really wanted to be a homicide investigator ever since I was a kid.
Wow. And
I watched this, and I took this ASVAB test at the Coast Guards, and I didn't score high enough for them. The test for that was a little bit higher back then. Everybody kind of makes fun of the Coast Guard people, but of course the Army wanted me, and the Marines were like, well, that ASVAB test, you're good to go. And I mean, think about that back in the day. So I'm 63. I'll be 63 years old next month, right?
Ooh,
back
nice.
then, you could do 2 years, and then you'd be done, right? You'd have all this military experience, and then you're done. And I didn't do it. And I said, you're going to have to either go this route, or you're just going to not do it at all. And guess what? I didn't do it. I didn't do anything. I didn't go into the Army. I didn't do the Marine Corps. I didn't do the Coast Guard, all because of that thing, of this ASVAB test. And that, hey man, you failed that because you suck. And
that was your internal dialogue.
Right. That was it. And I said, well, if I can't do what I want to do, I'm not going to do anything at all. And then that started a pattern. Now, I've always been a competitive person ever since I played sports. I was the president and student council at 7th grade. And then I hit high school. I was walk-on in high school. And then on November 16th, 1977, I remember it like it was yesterday. I took somebody's position over on the football field, and he walked past me and he sucker punched me, man, right in the mouth, and broke my jaw on 2 places, right here and here. And I remember I could feel it to this day going, something is not right. And I walked into the coach. He didn't knock me out. I didn't do any martial arts training, by the way. His name is Tony Garcia. So Tony, if you're listening to this, I want that rematch. Every time I tell this story, I look for him every freaking time.
Would you actually want to fight him?
Oh, I would love to get him in the ring one time because he's my age. And I know I've been doing this for all my whole life, man. It would be a whole different ball game. But so what happened there is I went to the coach, and the coach is like, he's looking at me, goes, something's not right. And so I had to go to emergency surgery, and they wired my mouth shut. So on that day, I'm wired shut through Thanksgiving and Christmas that year, 77. And that was the trajectory of me starting to go downhill. Matter of fact, after that, I couldn't play ball this season. After I just worked really hard on a walk-in to get to this at Reseda High School. And then I couldn't play ball for the rest of that season. And then I just didn't do well in school. And then I had to go to continuation school, and I excelled in continuation school. So in continuation school, I excelled because it was at my own pace, and I did whatever, and I got things done in a quick manner. I didn't have people breathing down my neck. And then I tried a little bit of college, and college just didn't work out for me. And so this is the trajectory on why I am where I'm at. The martial arts came along when I was in my 20s, early 20s, 2021. Mm-hmm. And the way it happened is my brother was going to high school. I'm 8 years older than my little brother, and he's going off to high school, and he wanted to do some karate. It was much bigger. I was much tougher than him. I was just a natural, I was bullied pretty good in school. And I recall it on the basketball concrete one day. We're playing. I'm in 8th grade, 9th grade. This one kid would not let up on me. Okay. Bowling ball or this or that. Finally, I just looked at him with all this rage, and I literally just picked him up and slammed him on the ground.
Ooh.
And my teachers and everything were like, I said, man, I've had it with your freaking mouth. And I slammed him on the ground, and wham, I crack him one time, and they're pulling me off. And my anger is just so intense that I almost
Taste of
became
blood.
a bully myself because of that.
Same exact story, dude. I don't know if I told you this on when I was on your show. Same exact thing. I was the bully. I was bullied all my life. And then the 7th grade, about halfway through, I lost a marble and fucking beat the shit out of somebody. And then I was like, oh, this is kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, I tell you this. I had a lot of friends, but they were a lot of fake friends because no one even wanted to cross or think about crossing me. And so that's what happened.
Mhm.
And that was the next level of where I feel that I was at. And so when martial arts came along, you know, I thought about it one thing. I said, hey, man, this is going to make me even tougher than I am, because I'd scrap at the heart. I'd scrap at anything. You know what I mean? You look at me sideways, you know, and it's an unfortunate story, but my oldest boy, he goes, oh, Dad, one of the biggest memories I have of you is when you took somebody out of the car and you slammed him on top of our hood. And I was like, oh, man.
You're like,
come
oh,
on.
really? That's the memory you have? My
And
friend
I'm
has
like,
the same thing. He pulled a guy out of he pulled a guy out of the window of a van at a gas station and he pulled him out of he goes, I remember my dad pulled this guy out of the van and beat the shit out of him. My mom was so mad. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, and that, you know, that's the other thing. I said, you know, son, you've watched me feed the homeless. You've watched me cater to those that you've watched me stop and help a young woman being attacked. But what you remember is me pulling someone out and slamming them on the hood of the car. I'm just like, wow, man. My life story just goes that way. But martial arts kind of honed me in. It gave me a serious lesson on humility. And then can you imagine in your 60s still getting the same lesson? When I really dabbed into jujitsu now, you know, so I started with Tong Soo Do, which is the Chuck Norris system. That's my highest rank, right? I did some Hapkido. I got a black belt in that. And then Krav Maga, I got a black belt in that.
Wow.
And so this is what I have all this training. And then jujitsu came along, and I've been doing it ever since I was for a long time, but never serious. And, you know, it's like anything else. I think you can relate to this, Christopher. You got to have the right coach that has your mindset in order for you to excel. And see, I never had that in school. I didn't have that coach that would take me to the next level, that would take my competitiveness and turn me into a leader. You know, they used me more like for the brawn. Well, put Cox in, you know, let him do his thing.
Right.
And, you know, I played more basket brawl than I did basketball. You know what I mean? I was the 6th man off the bench, right? The one that can foul, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
And so I didn't have that coach. But this coach, 3-4 years ago, I've been doing jujitsu for 15 years, but just kind of dabbled, you know, enough to have it, you know. And so after that, I said, this coach came along, and he is a no-nonsense military vet, lost 11 men in war, 11.
Wow.
So our team 3, when you see me out with my team 3 uniform on and team 3 and all that, that's his guys. That's his 11 guys. He was the leader of team 3. He's a ranger, an Army Ranger in the military. And he lost 11 people. We keep him alive with team 3. That's how we keep them alive. So, but his mindset of no quit, of whatever it is that you got to do, you got to get done. Now, he's also a SWAT cop out of El Monte, right? He's worked his way up. So he had a martial arts school for a long time. And then he went to become a cop. And then he went and you know, next is excelled all the way up into the SWAT team, right? Right now he's on vice, and then he'll serve SWAT warrants and do what they do. And so he's just a unique individual that is good at a lot of shit. Yeah. I don't care if it's like how to draw a weapon, how to shoot a gun, how to do it, how to be a sniper. He's just a freak of nature, and he's just an awesome jiu-jitsu practitioner. And we just became family. Him and I became very close very quickly. And he's the coach. So we brought him on. And so I've been doing this jujitsu journey, and it still whacks me in the face every week. Now, it's a weird thing. So you're in a coaching perspective. Now, you tell me if this doesn't help you, right? I've noticed that, right? My skill level's here. And as I have kids that are stayed with me for years and years and years, I'm getting this good and they're getting this good, right?
Right.
I'm getting this good and they're getting this good. And then pretty soon, man, we're meeting. And pretty soon, these students of mine that have had them since they're children, and they're grown men with families now, and we are becoming peers now. It's a different ball game. I might be able to hone their skills on how to teach and give them some life skills about being a dad and stuff like that. But on the skill level, we're right here. So you become the student, and there's always this, the Ninja Turtles, and the old master is holding them all as kids, and then all the kids are growing up and holding the master as an old man, right? And so I'm that old man now, even though I get down with these kids, right?
Yeah.
And they keep me young, they keep me going, and I get on that mat, and I think I told you this. I said the mat does not care about your feelings, man. It just doesn't give a shit.
It's true,
right? It just reveals character. I tell everybody, you think martial arts build character. It doesn't build it. It reveals it. Right. And once revealed, you have to either build on that, what's being revealed, or you have to fix it. One of the two has to happen. And this is the beauty of what it is. Right. And so I just do this every week, and I'm like, you go up the ranks, and of course, when you go up the ranks in jiu-jitsu, it's a different ball game. You don't never know when it's happening. The coach is evaluating you every time we meet. He rolls with me every week. I roll with others. He watches us teach, and he evaluates. And when he's ready, all of a sudden, out of the blue, you're getting up and you're getting a new rank. And I love my coach. He just goes like this. I don't compare you to somebody else's journey. This is your journey. This is what you're on. And by the way, what I'm giving you is none of your fucking business. I was like, oh shit. Right. He goes, this is my business, not for you to tell me that you don't think you're ready or something like that. And so this is our coach. And so this is where I'm at in life, right? In a 60-year-old man going, man, I wish I had this kind of stuff as a young man, but I'm still learning these lessons in my 60s to make me even a better man, or a better coach, or a better instructor, or whatever it is I'm going to do. And so this is kind of where, like, when you ask me what I get up and I think about, I used to be, I was a competitive animal in the 90s, man. I held world championship titles in the 90s. And I remember it was everything I could do to win the titles and all these years. And when I wrote my book, I wrote the stuff in my book about, it was never my wins that taught me lessons. It's only my losses. Right. I've won so many tournaments. I've won so many tournaments that I couldn't even name off as many tournaments or how many trophies I've had at one time, or medal, whatever shit they give you. Right. That's collecting dust today, because who really gives a shit when you think about it? But at that moment, I thought that was my whole world, and I was making a mark in my world, and the competition was something I did. It drove me, and it did all this, but man, I had serious lessons when I lost. And then I had to learn humility, even in that. And then I thought, well, okay, I got this together. And then here I am on the jiu-jitsu mat, getting angry when I shouldn't be angry. Am I going to quit, or am I going to succumb to pressure? Because when someone's laying on top of you and you can barely breathe, and you're like this, hyperventilating, and you're getting claustrophobic, and what am I going to do? And you just want to tap to pressure.
Right.
That's the same as life, man. You're going to tap out to pressure, or are you going to find a way out to win? That's what the mat teaches me every day.
I love that, Mark. Thank you for sharing that, man. We were on a roll, so I didn't want to interrupt you, but that's what I love, and that's what I really want to teach people. We got my friend Alex in the house. What's up, Alex? Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you being here. Alex is about to get married. Congratulations. But I just love what you're talking about, man, because it really is about the intention. Everything you were saying is the intention. What's my intention? Is my intention to learn? Is my intention to find this lesson valuable? Is my intention to go towards the pain or to run away from the pain? And exactly what you said is the gold is in the pain. When we look back, I just watched The Hero's Journey as part of my group accountability coaching program. I signed that to the guys 2 weeks ago to watch. And I said, watch The Hero's Journey, because in that, are you familiar with the Joseph Campbell story, The Hero's Journey?
I am.
Okay, so you know about it. Yeah. So I watched it again. Every time I sign it, I watched it again, because I always get something out of it. And I love the fact that, when the hero goes out and learns these lessons and comes back, they come back more victorious. They come back here with more confidence. And the reason why we root for them is because we're secretly rooting for ourselves. We're always rooting for that underdog. But that underdog has to be intentional. That underdog has to be has to have that faith and that belief, that foundation, that everything that is occurring in their life is setting them up for what's next. And that's the way I look at life, Mark. I look at everything that has happened in our life, and everything that is happening in our life is preparing us for what's next. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%, 1,000%. For sure.
So when you think about being intentional, and I want to go deep on this, as I think about doing our best, right? And so oftentimes, and I've proven this to myself, this is how this all came about, is one day I came home from work years ago. I was putting my keys in my wallet up on my dresser, and I said I did the best I could. And I talked to myself out loud, and I thought about it. And it was something I did at work, and I'm like, did I really do my best? And I'm always catching myself, like, catching ourselves in our excuses or our lies and or whatever. I'm like, why did I just say that? And I'm like, okay, let me think about where this goes back to. And I kept tracing. I'm like, oh, when we're little kids. Hey, Mark, did you do the best you could? Uh-huh. Okay, do better next time. And I think about myself, hey, Chris, did you do your best? Uh-huh. I did my best. Okay, do better next time. Nobody ever really qualifies or works with us and defines what our best is. And to your point, like you said originally when we first kicked off the show, is we're capable of so much more. We have so much more in us. The people that aren't familiar, if you guys go out and Google David Goggins, right? David Goggins is the guy that finds more gas in the tank. What is it in your experience, Mark, that you can share with people to help them find that extra 20%, that extra 40%, whatever it might be, because people are notoriously not doing the best that they possibly can. They think they are, and they give themselves that excuse to be complacent, to be mediocre. But how do we raise people's own level of integrity, right? You have a personal level of integrity. You have a code of ethics. You have values that say, okay, I am a man of this person, so therefore I'm going to conduct myself this way. What are some recommendations you have for people watching and listening to this that know they're capable of more, but they just don't do it?
Well, I think number one, first of all, you have to have some extreme ownership. It's probably the biggest book in 2022 that I read. It was Extreme Ownership by Jocko. And when I read through it, I was like, dude, I make up excuses, man. I don't take responsibilities for things, either whether I'm the boss or if I'm on the mat, right? I was looking at it, I'm going, okay, wait a minute. And I had to start taking some extreme ownership. So it's okay that maybe the day is you didn't give 100%. What's not okay is when you look at yourself and you make an excuse for it and you don't say, you know what, that's your bad. That's my bad. That has nothing to do with what distraction I had today. That had all to do with me. And how do I make sure that it doesn't happen tomorrow? So I think you have to start with ownership in order to have intention. Okay. All right. So I took ownership here. My intention is to be here. Then you have to evaluate, right? So you have ownership, intention, evaluate. So you have to look at all three of those, and then you have to have that on a daily, correct? What extreme ownership am I going to have next, and how am I going to evaluate myself? And am I going to evaluate myself truthfully?
Yeah.
And am I gonna say, my day was bad, or my mindset wasn't great, or whatever it is I'm going to say. And all of a sudden, what happens with that is we make excuses. And guess what happens? I tell my students all the time, you've got to improve second by second, right? Minute by minute, round by round. You have to finish it. You got to finish. You don't go to bed without finishing what you start.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's where it is. Extreme ownership. In order to have intention, you have to have them both. Now, intention is a weird thing, right? It's different for anybody. Intention can be, my intent is to harm everybody around me today. Right. So that's an outward intention, right? This intention inside is, I am not on the mat today. My opponent today, it's about me. Can I be better than I was yesterday?
Yes.
Today. That's what it is. And so
1% growth.
My growth is, I thank my opponent for either hey, allowing me to work on stuff, and hey, maybe I got the best of you today. Thanks for being my partner. Thanks for working me through that. Or I got it. I got work today, right? Because here's the real truth. Some days we're the hammer. Sometimes we're the nail. Some days we're the board that's getting hammered by the nail. Correct. So, and so you have to take that and you have to look at them and say, hey, even though you got me good today, I had a real private victory. And I would tell my students this. My coach told me one time, he goes, look, Mark, you've got natural strength, and big guys like to use natural strength. Even for how old you are just a strong human being. Mm-hmm. And so you rely on it. He goes, you need to rely on your jujitsu, not your strength.
Ooh.
And I said,
Like trusting your soul as opposed to trusting your brain, right? Is that
That's
kind of what they're
correct.
saying? Yeah.
Right. So what he's saying is you've got to work your technique. You keep flashing back to, I'm just going to outmuscle this guy. And then all of a sudden you're going to get somebody that can outmuscle you. And all of a sudden that's going to be a problem. And I said, okay, so I didn't tell anybody this, Chris. For 1 month, I said to myself, I will not muscle anybody at all. The only time I'm going to do it is if they're trying to put me maybe in an arm bar or doing that, I might use my arm to use my strength not to get in a hold. But I'm not going to utilize my strength like to bench press them off. I'm going to wheel in this thing. Guess what happened on that month? First week,
had way more wins.
I was getting my ass tapped out all week, like more than ever, because I wouldn't use what my go-to was. And people were like, man, what's going on, Mr. Cox? I said, hey, man, you just got me today. I don't know what to tell you, right? You just, you're a better man today. And I remember telling myself that week was tough. I was like, man, I'm just getting my ass handed to me.
Because your identity is like going, wait, I got something to prove, right?
Because me, I can't stand losing. I hate losing more than I like winning. And so I said, okay, this is bullshit. But the next week I said, okay, I'm gonna do the same thing. Then all of a sudden something changed. All of a sudden I wasn't getting tapped as much. Not that I wasn't getting tapped. I was still getting tapped a lot, but not as much. I'm surviving rounds. I'm not using strength. Week 3 came around. And I remember week 3 vividly because week 3, I already started tapping people with something different, stuff that I'm not used to doing because I was forced to work. Then all of a sudden I'm getting some taps. Week 4, I see that now I'm tapping as much as I'm getting tapped and I'm not using any of my strength. And it took me a month for me to kind of get out of that mindset of, hey, you need to work this in order to get here. And now, so I was intentional with that. I was very intent. And I tell everybody here, if you're listening today with me, I'm telling you to take pride in your private victories. Public victories are awesome. You know what I mean? Where people get you and they clap for you. Oh, Mr. Cox is here. The brick breaker, all that kind of bullshit. And you're on stage and you got the lights and you're all pumped up. And I'm getting the crowd raised up. But I'm telling you, it's nothing as better as when I sit in the sauna and I said, I did not use muscle today. I was intentional and I beat my weakness today. See, nobody has to know that, but I know it. And so you got to take solace in those private victories. You got to pat yourself on the back and not be boastful, because when you start boasting about what you just did, then all of a sudden it's like you're doing it for selfish reasons now. Now, I tell you that story now because now maybe somebody else is going to be intentful, because this was a few months ago that I did this and I didn't tell anybody. I didn't even tell my coach.
Oh, wow.
But he noticed. He goes, you're not using muscle. You're fighting me. You're using technique. This is a better week. It's a better week. And I said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm working on that.
Nice.
And so now I'll tell people the same story when they get frustrated out here. I said, hey, man, I was right there. This is what I did. This was my intention. Why don't you ask yourself, what are you going to intend not to try and do this week? Or don't do the same freaking thing. Just try something new. Go to your weakness. Do what you don't do good at. So that's what I think intent has to be. That's where I think it lies.
Yeah, it is true. I mean, in what I do, and I realize this, I talk about my morning ritual, right? I was very consumed with a couple of years, like what is it that successful people do that unsuccessful people don't do? So I always go down these like 2-year sabbaticals, if you will, and I take like an overarching subject like child psychology. I took child psychology for a couple of years and studied that when I really was like, okay, when do we get fucked up? And I thought we got fucked up as teenagers when I really kind of was putting the pieces together myself because I like to figure out the puzzle. And then I took 2 years and I said, let me just dive into this. And I'm like, wow, it really happens. It can happen in utero. It can happen in past life. There's all these different connections that can create the situation that we have now that we have to deal with. It so oftentimes we think is just a product of our environment now. And so when I think about actually, I want to catch this real quick. Alexandra said here, such wisdom, need ownership to reach what you intend to achieve. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate you being here. She says, also love Christopher Rausch, such a life teacher and soul bro. Amazing show here, highlighting leaders going through amazing challenges. Thank you, Alex. We need to get you back, you back here on the show as well. We got Jock Rokas in the house. What's up, Mr. Jock? I was talking about martial arts. Jock is a fellow martial arts consumer. He had a dojo. We were actually just was talking about that a couple of days ago. So in thinking about, doing our best, the thing that I find for myself is gratitude, number one, to be grateful, to find myself in gratitude, because when I'm not grateful, then I find myself in need or lack or scarcity and looking at worthiness. So I've started my day off for the last couple of years now, at least 3 or 4 years now. I just started off before my eyes even open. I say what I'm grateful for. So I'm figuring, like, again, what I was talking about before is like studying Robin Sharma, the 5 a.m. club. Like, what do successful people do? And most successful people start the day with very specific routines that help them get them set up for that. And so one of those things was gratitude, people writing a gratitude journal. I found that if I could just, when I go to sleep at night, we used to say what I was grateful for when I go to sleep, and I do that still. So now in the morning when I wake up, I say what I'm grateful for. But then the next thing that I do is I set the intention for the day, because I'm like, how can we win the day? Aubrey Marcus, I think it is. He was the owner of On It. He wrote a book on how to win the day. And I thought it was kind of cheesy. I'm like, how to win the day? I mean, who fucking cares about winning the day? I want to win the week. I want to win the month. I want to win the year. I want to win everything that I've got going on. But in the book, it talks about we overshoot, and thinking about what can we do to own the day? What can we do to win the day? And so I started thinking about that in my own life. And I thought, okay, setting intentions, right? So oftentimes we're not very intentional. We think we're intentional and we think we're on point, but we're only half gassing it, right? So I started setting the intention every single morning. Like, what can I set the intention to do today that by which doing so will change the trajectory of my life, right? And so I started saying, okay, my intention today is to be present and playful with my son, because I found that when I was with my son, I was thinking about business stuff, or I was thinking about client stuff, or thinking about this and that. I'm like, my son, it deserves 100% of my attention. So I'm going to set the intention today to be present and playful when I'm with him. So when I'm with him, if I find myself daydreaming about work, I stop myself and say, hey, you set the intention today, be with this kid, be a 5-year-old with this kid, be a 7-year-old with this kid. Number two, when I think about setting the intentions, is I thought, okay, what's the bigger why, right? When we wake up every day, I believe, and I teach, and you've seen me teach a little bit. I believe and I teach that people, when you have the big enough why, you have a big enough how. Like when you really know what it is, your purpose is here. And I have my coaching clients write their eulogy, because I think at the end of the day, if you could live what is said about you at the end of your life, then that's a pretty good life. So now, as part of my intention setting, as I set the intention to use my words and my actions to make the world a better place. So setting that intention. So as I'm going throughout my day, if I'm being pissy about something, which I can tend to be, I'm normal like everybody else. Did I set that intention this morning? No, I did not set the intention to be pissy. Why am I being pissy right now? What is it that's causing that? And I go and I dig into the root situation of that. And I find usually it's jealousy or something like that. But the important thing is that intention, to that desire to uncover what it is that we're weak at. And I love that you said that, is the fact that so oftentimes we're focusing on what we're good at. And sometimes that's really great, and we should go all in on that. But sometimes those weaker things is what I believe we need to go towards, because there's that juice in there, right? Like you said so perfectly. When I look back on my life, I don't think that I learned very much when things were smooth. But when I look back and I think about the challenges, that hero's journey that we talked about a little bit before, those bumps and those bruises and those scrapes are the things that help me become the person I am today. And when I think about that constant journey, like you said perfectly before, Mark, that 1% every single day. There's a book out there was called The One Thing. And the gist of that book and that one thing was like, what's the one thing that I could do today by which doing so will help me have it easier to gain more business, or will help me be, physically stronger? What's the one thing that I could do today by executing on that? Because every single day, if we compound that effort, right? And I talk to people all the time. They're like, oh, Chris, this and that, and this, and that. I'm like, take imperfect fucking action, like fail your way to success. What are your thoughts on that? Because so many people are living in this world of perfection and identity, and I can't make a mistake, and I can't fail, and I can't be looked bad upon. What are your thoughts on like putting it all out there and just fucking going for it, as opposed to being worried about failures and mistakes and all that other stuff?
Well, I think I think everybody worries about failures. I think that's why most people don't start something, because of the fear of failure, right? Yeah. So I think that's probably what needs to be addressed first. Is if you're going to have fear of failure, whether it's speaking, whether it's, starting something new, whether it's trying to lose some weight, or maybe trying to start the gym, or trying to start martial arts, or whatever it is you're going to do, your fear. I think sometimes people fear of getting a coach because they don't want to hear what they already know. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right. So I think that's a major thing, that people don't want to get into the gist of that, because they already know, they know what's wrong. they're looking to find somebody that wants to agree with what they know is already wrong. And so I've seen this a million times. And so I asked my own students, I guess I just relate back to my students, right? Because I hear a lot of them do this. And this was a great lesson to me one time. They said, I hear it all the time. And I just don't feel like coming to class. I just want to quit. And I said, that's all good. Just don't quit today. Quit tomorrow.
Yep.
Don't quit today.
Just not
all
today.
Right? All right. Just not today. Go to bed. Well, think about it tomorrow. Quit tomorrow then. If you're going to do it, don't quit today. Because usually after a good night's sleep and everything happens, fear subsides, reality steps in. Our intentions are really good in the morning, and then life slaps us we get kicked in the balls in the middle of the afternoon, and we recluse back to what we're fearful of.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this is just a battle. I think this is a battle that everybody fights. Everybody fights this battle.
What are you afraid of?
What am I afraid of? To be honest with you, what drives me crazy, I don't know if it's a fear as much as it's a worry. Like I have worked very hard to set my children up to win.
Yeah.
Right. And some of them don't follow my path. And is the God going to keep me around enough to make sure I can see my children win? Right.
Right.
This is what it is. Now, what to have extreme ownership? What would I used to be fearful of? I think what I was fearful of is looking and being embarrassed, on things. So I would mask it with, a toxic, like, come on, motherfucker,
Right.
And that would be masking something that is probably in because I have self-conscious, maybe I don't feel I look the part, or two, I'm not as good as so-and-so, but as I've gotten older, man, I can give I don't even give a shit.
Right.
Okay. You know what I mean?
You start to realize as you get older,
right.
it's not important.
When you start to get older, I used to ask all the time, I can't understand how I was the young pit bull man when I was coming up the ranks. I was it. I was the, I was the one, coach looked at me, or my instructor said, nod his head, and I'm busting you in the mouth. You know what I mean? That was me. Now I'm the old dog. I'm the old junkyard dog. The one that still has one good fight in him. And, right. But not on the everyday. Right. And I was like, when did I become the old guy?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when is it when somebody's 50, I'm older than them? How did that happen? And I used to worry about, I used to ask myself all the time, why are, old men are not grumpy. Old men aren't grumpy. They don't care.
Right.
They don't give a shit. Okay. That's what it is.
My mom go through that.
Right?
She goes, I'm too old now to give a shit.
That's exactly right. Younger. And I was like, and so the fear today, my fears today are not what they were as a younger man. My fears today is getting injured and I can't train.
Right.
Right. And making sure my ego doesn't get engaged to where I get injured. You know what I mean? So going up against the wrong guy, going up against the young stud that's out there, that's, in his late 20s, being able to, what John says this right thing, Tom, that maybe he said it better than I did. John just said, my big fear is time.
Yeah.
And that's probably a better way of saying what I said about, have I set everything up for my kids? And do I have the time to still be here to watch it go? You don't think life is tough when you see Toby Keith, my age, leaving his kids behind, watching his last one. Hey, man.
Yeah.
That was not cool. I mean, that's eye-opening stuff right there. So, I think John hit it even better. Amelia's on too. And so I said, when that happened to me, I think that my whole world changed as far as that goes. So I don't fear as much as I worry, I think is a better word. You know what I mean? I do fear injury, because I'm kind of broken, man. I'm a guy that has a fake knee. My ego gets engaged in the garage. Why don't you think about this for a minute? This is the stupid shit that goes in my head, and this is what happens, right? Oh, I just got my puppy up here. Okay, I got you.
Oh, I gotta see the puppy. I thought I was hearing a dog. I wasn't sure it was feedback through. Oh, don't get that puppy.
This is one of my students' dogs. I'm his grandpa, so he's in here with me. So anyway, what happened is, I'm in the garage, and all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put 275 on the bar. I used to pump 350 out in sets of 10, right? 275, that ain't nothing.
Yeah.
And so I warm up 225, bang, bang, bang. You know, I feel like, man, that's kind of a little heavier than what it usually is for me. Boom. I said, well, I call my son and I said, hey, can you come out here and spot? And he goes, Dad, I can't. I'm right in the middle of a call. I'll be out there in a few minutes. I'm like, no, I'll just do it myself. Fuck it. And 275. And all of a sudden the bar comes down and I'm like, I'm quarter up going, oh no. Oh no. And I'm like, do I dump it or what do I do? And I scoot back to get my shoulders more engaged. And I put this thing up back on the rack and I just wreck myself. For 4 months, I couldn't even put 20 pounds on a dumbbell on that stupid ass move. So this is what the stuff, when you say, what you fear? Injury, right. Because it puts me on the back burner forever and a day. So, you know, trying to have keep my ego in check. I don't know why it is like that. I don't know why us guys do that anyway. You know, we just have one. And, you know, when you're an older guy, you just feel that you know, time is the ultimate opponent. He's never lost. Time has never lost. We always trying to push him back. And he just never loses. But I'll tell you what, he sure socks you in the ass for a couple times, right? And you know, so I'm sore here, or I'm on the mat. Are you gonna knee bar me or something? And where I'm really, because my right knee is really bad. I got a fake left knee, which is okay, but you know, even when I got a knee replacement, I got it, you know, seven years ago. I was still pretty young for a knee replacement because I still get after it, man. I'm not one of these old guys, man. And so I fear that kind of stuff of, man, I got to go through a rehab for a year and I can't train. I don't want that shit. I just don't want it at this part of my life. But on the same token, I don't want to not play hard. Isn't that
you and my buddy Robert, the same person. He's been riding BMX bike. He rode desert motorcycle. He's always had to do something to compete against himself. And he has to do that to get he can't get out of his own way. Like he's literally just wearing his body out because he has to have that thirst and that thrive. And so my question to him is like, what are you going to do if you don't have that anymore? And so, I mean, that's the thing that I find, because I'm going to be 55 here next week, actually a week from yesterday. And so I was going to ask you this question.
Double nickels.
We were having the conversation on the Facebook chat the other day, you know, talking about that. And realizing you were a little bit older than me, I've realized, and this is the kind of the cool thing about it, I guess, in some ways, is I'm excited about getting older because I've seen even from 40 to 55 now, which is 15 years. And you think about 40s when we're younger, you think 40 is old and you think 50 is old. And all of a sudden I'm excited for the person I'm becoming, but at the same time, I'm fearful for how much time might not be left. And so when it went to Jock's point where he says, my fear is time, that's the same thing I look at it, which causes me to really reestablish and reevaluate my priorities, right? Because so many times when we're younger, we have priorities. Oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to get my car and Hot Rod magazine. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And as we get older and the time window starts to narrow, our priorities become clearer. And so my question for you, as you've continued to age, obviously your priority is to not get injured because you love what it is that you do, and it's an avenue for you to release emotions and tensions, and it's just it's in your wheelhouse. What lessons are you continuing to learn as you get older that you would like to pass on to the younger version of yourself, right? You know, when you think back, what's the wisdom we would go back and give ourselves when we were younger? What are some of those words that what are some of those lessons that you're seeing now as you're getting to be older that you wish younger Mark would have learned?
Well, one is ego. I can tell you that for a fact. My ego was stacked. It was well stacked. And I didn't learn. I had to be, there's a saying, matter of fact, there's a saying in my school when you walk in the door, be humble or get humbled. And
or pummeled.
Well, that too, because that's usually how you get humbled. You get your ass handed to you. But I remember, like, I was well endowed with a good ego and just thought that the most important thing is these things that are not important. And I would tell my younger self, I talk about to my younger self all the time, is there's a few things in life I wish I would have done different. I wish I would have found a soulmate. You know, I went through a nasty divorce 20 something years ago, and I raised my own children as a single dad. the lessons there were on the same token. If I didn't have my wife at that time, I wouldn't have the children I have today. And I wouldn't have lived this life of being a single dad, raising these powerful men and a beautiful daughter. Right. And, I got socked in the face on a regular with life. And I had this bad ego that went along with it. So I would tell myself as a younger me, I said, you need to put your ego in check and shut your freaking mouth is what you need to do. Okay. Learn from those that are older. I treasure those that are older now.
Yeah, me too.
Where they're a treasure and they're so mistreated. Even at myself, I look at myself here in my world. I'm kind of the older dog now.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it. And you feel it, and you feel like, he can't move like he used to. He can't quite do all this like he used to. And so I'm always trying to prove myself, today.
Mm-hmm.
And as a younger dude, my ego would have taken care of that for me. Today, I can't do that. So I would tell my younger self, I wish I had a soulmate. And I really wish I would have put my finances correct. I wish I would have had a coach. I had a coach on how to have a successful school. I had a coach on how to be a successful fighter. I had a coach on how to be, a successful businessman. I did not have a financial coach. I pissed away so much money that in my age now, I'm set because I was smart that I own my building I'm in here at the studio. But I just bought some properties last year. I've had a small condo in Georgia, and I just bought another property in Georgia that I Airbnb.
You told me that. Yeah.
Right. So I'm just now, I would have told myself to work on wealth as a young man, because as a young man, you have nothing but time. As an older man, you got no time. And right. And so you're trying to play catch up. And you know how it is. I tell my students all the time, when you're on the mat and you're defending, you are losing. All right. So that's where I'm at. I'm in the defensive mode trying to catch up. So when you're defending, you're losing. So you got to get on the offense. I should have been on the offense a lot when I was a lot younger. You know what I mean? And I tell my boys this today. I tell those that own martial arts schools today. I tell coaches today, take a portion of your money, put it into an investment. I don't give a shit, and teach these young people the power of compound interest when it's in your favor.
Yes.
Because that is not taught to me at school. You know what I mean? I'm telling you right now.
It's true. No, thank you for that, man. And I can't believe we've already been talking for 48 minutes, dude. It's been crazy. I want to capture what John says here as well. Emilio says, wow, for the people that are listening on the podcast. Yes. John, actually, his name's Jock. John says here, I believe we need to turn fear into feeling what we feel is real. And even on that as well, there's a great book out there called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. It's an amazing book. It helped me tremendously with my fears. She has a follow-up book that I actually have that I have not read yet. I have a stack of books, like 25 books that I bought that I still haven't read yet. I got to get on that. And also John says here as well, the thing is you cannot change the past, but had you would not experience what you had, you would not have the wisdom you have now, and therefore could not enlighten those who look up to you now. So why change anything for you would not be you and serve as you would be different. It's true. Yeah. I mean, everything.
Well, I think John hits it. He's a pretty knowledgeable guy that's been on this podcast today. He said some very profound things. Is he an older guy?
He's a smart dude. Yeah. He's younger than me though. Fucker.
Okay.
Yeah. No, he's he's definitely one you want to connect with him. He's in the martial arts space. He's he's a great dude. He's one of my mentors.
Yeah, it sounds he has all these right on. And you're correct. Would I change the thing is, what would I change if I was younger?
Right.
The question wasn't would I change it? Probably not. So John's 51. So he's one of the silverbacks, bro. Okay. Yep. I don't call them silver foxes. I call us silverbacks because we crush things. I think that I don't think I would change anything for sure. Doesn't mean when you're lying by yourself sometimes, and you have to ask yourself some question, because what happened to me, I think I told you, I had a couple hospital scares. One, happened in 2019. And man, I was not in the best of shape by any means. My knees were really bad, and I wasn't in the best of shape. But I'm still going on the military bases, teaching Krav, and I'm working hard, and I'm shooting testosterone up. So I'm just like, I'm just like a freaking. And then all of a sudden, I get double blood clots out of the blue in my lungs, and told that you're lucky to be alive. And I was like, I'll never forget those 5 days in there. My mom and dad are crying, and I mean, I was like, is this really serious? Is what you're telling me? And then I had constant fear, Chris. I lived in fear for 6 months. Now, you ask me there? 6 months. Every time I laid down, every time I felt any tightness, I thought for sure I'm having a stroke. I'm going to have, and I kept asking God, don't give me a stroke. Just take me home. All right. Just take me home. I don't want to be here on a stroke. And I remember that. And then it wasn't until I made a decision. I said, you know what? I'm living my life. I'm changing my life. And I changed it. Dropped at 89, 90 pounds at that time. And stuff like that. And so I said, after that, I just had pancreatitis in October.
Ooh, my friend had that.
They don't know. Listen, man, that sucked. But when I was in there, once again, this lesson, it changed my whole trajectory of health, because in there, they didn't really know. They couldn't give me answers why I got it. I don't drink any alcohol, and there wasn't gallstones. So I'm like, is it because I lived a ketogenic lifestyle? That could be it? And they said, I don't know. I don't think so. But that's not what I studied. That's not what I read. And when you tried to feed me when I was in the hospital, everything was full of fucking sugar. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? I can't eat this shit and get well. And so
the inflammation will kill you.
And I looked at my keto diet and I said, okay, I need to change this a little bit. Maybe my pancreas isn't working the way it's supposed to because of the ketogenic diet. And then I gave up dairy. Boom, I dropped another 22 pounds right after that. And now my trajectory of health, I'm probably in some of the best health I've been in for a long time. Is John asking if I was a veteran? No, brother. I was a cop for a long time, John, but not in the military. I wish I was in the military, but I didn't serve.
Yeah, he works with a lot of veterans as well. But man, this has been an amazing conversation. You and I know we could talk for hours and hours and hours, but where can people get a hold of you and learn more about Mark Cox?
Well, if you go to just markcox.com, that's my audio podcast. My podcast is Beyond the Mat. So I have a book too. You see, I wrote this book, Beyond the Mat. This is my first book. A year and a half ago, I wrote this book. This has to do with what I've learned beyond the mat, what I've taken lessons and how I've applied it to life off the mat. And I've a lot of stuff in this book. Burying your students. That was not fun. Carrying a baby's casket because the dad is so distraught that his baby that I held the night before it died suddenly at a hospital. He couldn't even bring himself to carry the casket. I got to carry this baby's casket to the grave, right? Or losing a student that I called and asked to cover class and was killed by a drunk driver on the way to the school. These are the stories and I've carried that with me forever because it was on my phone call. I asked him to come to the school to teach a class on a rainy night. These are the type of stories in here, or the stories about how I was a world champion and then somebody in a wheelchair ends up beating me and on a fluke beat, right? And my ego was so engaged, I couldn't believe it, only to hear him thank me when he's on stage and saying that he's so grateful for me. And I treat him like an asshole. He's so grateful for me. Think about this. What a dick I was. He's so grateful for me. I'm sinking in my chair going, oh God. And he goes, the reason I'm in a wheelchair, I was a trucker. I got hit and I got a blood transfusion and got AIDS. And I was like, and he was dying. And I'm like, I'm sinking so low in my seat.
You're feeling like the asshole of the year.
Right. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was embarrassed in front of my students and everything because of just how I acted. And I had to go seek him out. I had to ask him I apologized. But that changed me. That life event changed me, man. I was a different man. When I compete today, I have the same poker face. I win, I lose, I shake hands. I'm humble as it can be. Period. That's just that was life changing. All this kind of stuff is in the book. And all this stuff, all this fighting, all this shit that I did, I'm telling you that 90% of what I do is a consultant. People come in my office and grown men, tears, going through divorce. I went through a nasty divorce. I get it. All the stuff you went through. That's why you build people. John, obviously, who this gentleman here, I'm going to meet this guy.
Yeah.
Is definitely on the path of helping others. I can tell by his.
Yeah, I'll introduce you guys on Facebook Message after this.
Yeah,
he's solid, dude.
Yeah, and so I just think that's where it's at. And you're right. We could talk about this all night long. I'd like to talk a little bit about men's health one of these days. I'd like to get into that. You know, I'd like to do another one of these, and let's just talk about men in today's world and what I see. Okay, it would be awesome.
We need to. Carly says here, Carly Meadows says, your reality checks always promote growth. Yes. And so, man, obviously people can get a hold of you at markcox.com. People get a hold of you social medias. You're at Mark Cox 100,
right?
Or at Beyond the Mat.
Right. All Mark Cox 100 is across the board. Instagram, LinkedIn, all this shit, whatever. Twitter, right. All of it's the same. I've kept Mark Cox 100. Everybody asks me, what's the 100? That's my black belt number. My instructor's 100th black belt. So nice. I've always kept it. So
beautiful, man. Here? I can't thank you enough for being here. I appreciate you so much. I want to put you backstage, and I'm going to end out the show. But John is sitting here saying he's going to buy the book, of course. So we've got a sale going on there. We got Ann in the house. Ann says, always remain humble. We're excited to meet you at our center my son trains at in April, Master Cox. So awesome. Appreciate that. I'm going to put you backstage for a second.
I'll be there at their school doing seminars.
Awesome, man.
Dirty white belt. I got a lot of dirty white belts, John. I get you on that, bro.
Cool, man. I'm gonna put you backstage. Don't go anywhere. I'm gonna end out the show. Okay. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. I got a dirty white belt. Dirty white belt. You know what? Foreigner should make a song called Dirty White Belt. For those of you guys playing along at home, that's Dirty White Boy by Foreigner, because I am 95.5 KLOS, Christopher Rausch spinning the tunes. Anyways, no, seriously, guys, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much, John, and everybody who has tuned in tonight to listen to this amazing man talk about resiliency, talk about tenacity, talk about discipline, talk about having that warrior spirit, right? Each and every one of you guys listening to this, watching this right now, each and every one of you has the capability, has the ability, has the trajectory in your life right now to become amazing. No matter what anybody has said to you, no matter what failures or mistakes or anything that's happened in your life, today is a brand new day. You are listening to this for a particular reason, because you might be stuck, because you might lack self-confidence, because you might be in a situation where you realize there's more to life, and that the someday is not ever going to materialize until you realize that the someday is today, right? When will you have had enough? When will you have had enough? I want you to think about this question very, very intently. We've talked about intention tonight. When will you have had enough? Because all of us are in situations, or will be in situations, that someday something will happen where we have had enough. We'll have had enough of our partner. We'll have had enough of our job. We'll have had enough of our kid. We'll have had enough of the screaming dog next door. We will have had enough. What I want you to really take from tonight's conversation is, wherever you're at in your journey, you may be inspired by what Mark said, or what something I said, or somebody that commented said, but where are you at in your journey? When will you have had enough? And what I really want you to do is, I want you to proactively find leverage in your life today, so that you don't get to that spot where you have had enough. Because guess what's going to happen when you have had enough? Generally, you pop off. Generally, you react to a situation, and you react emotionally, right? What happens when we react emotionally? I can't talk today. I feel like I'm stuttering. What happens when we react emotionally? Bad things happen. And so my encouragement to you is to be proactive in the leverage and finding the situation that you need to solve for proactively, right? Because so many times we wait and we think, oh, we'll just deal with it. We'll just deal with it. We handle our emotions one of three ways. You express it. There's an idea. Repress it or suppress it, right? The best thing you could do in life, and from this conversation, I hope you gain, is honesty, right? When Mark talks about his story, and he talks about the things that he's learned, especially in this latter part of the conversation, talking about as we get older, right? That truth and that honesty will set you free. It will suck and it'll hurt, right? To get honest about yourself, to sit there and say, hey, I've been in a 20-year marriage that I'm not happy with. Hey, I'm in a job that it's a dead end job, and I feel worthless, and I'm totally miserable every single day I go to work. Get honest with yourself, and it's going to suck and it's going to hurt. And yes, you're going to go through tough times. But as we have said in this broadcast tonight, I'm living fucking proof of this. The tough times of my life, would I want to repeat them? No, absolutely not. But the lessons that I gained from that, that's the important aspect, is the intention, the perspective that you have. We are here on this hero's journey. We're going to go through the peaks and the valleys for the rest of our life. We're going to have different challenges that are going to greet us as we continue to get older. The challenges that we had before, maybe before when we were younger, the challenge was putting food in the cupboard and paying our bills. Now we've got a good job and we make good money. Now the challenge is this. And then the challenge is going to be that. The point is, how are you going to respond to those challenges? And more importantly, who are you going to have in your corner? Right? I was talking with somebody earlier today. They were seeking me out for coaching. And I asked them, I said, who's your team? Who's the person that you trust? Who's the person who empowers you? Who's the person that holds you accountable? And who's the person that's your mentor? And they can't be the same person. Right? So many times we're operating in this world all alone. We're the lone wolf. We're going to do this. We're going to figure it out on our own. I've got this. But you got to ask for help. You got to have people in your corner that are going to empower you. They're going to motivate you, that are going to cause you to be honest. They're going to cause you to be honest with your excuses. Because at the end of the day, don't you want to live a life that you're proud of, that if today is your last day, that you go out swinging, saying, fucking, hey, man, I'm living my intention. And I can tell you this with a fact. Actually, I just saw the word fact just came up here. Thank you, Anthony. I can tell you this with a fact. My intention every single day, like I said this with Mark, when I wrote my eulogy, it wrote it in such a way that when I said, I will have fought for what I said, Christopher Rausch will have fought for what's right and what's fair. He will have risked for which that mattered, and he will have left the earth a better place for who he was and what he did. When I wrote that, I brought tears to my eyes. And so every single day, pretty much, I could probably say 99% of the days that I live, no matter how bad or challenging they might be, when I go to bed at night, did I use my words and my actions to make this world a better place? Yes or no? Yes. Every single day. And so I know that for me, my big why is to leave a legacy that my son will be proud of, right? And Mark talked about his kids. My son's 7 years old, so I got a long way to go, bro, in order to stay alive. When you think about time, I got to be here another 30 years. I want to make sure he has kids and he's settled. I mean, that's what we want as parents, right? But I don't know if I'm going to get that. None of us know if we're going to get tomorrow. So if we're living intentionally today, if we have a big why and a big purpose in our life, to not stay stuck, to not stay miserable, to not stay complacent, to not stay mediocre, and to go out there and take that imperfect action every single day and live our life. So many people are out there existing in life, hoping, wishing, and praying that someday something's going to change. The only thing that's going to change is you. And I highly recommend, number one, get clear about who you're becoming. Number two, get the right people in your life. Number three, stop tolerating the bullshit in your life. Number four, start taking better care of yourself. And number five, enjoy all the moments. Every single moment. Be intentional. Be in those moments, because life is short, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, life is short. And the thing I've learned the most is if you can enjoy, and when you enjoy those moments, as imperfect as they are, and you realize and you have gratitude for the challenges because you're going to learn from them, life is pretty fucking great. You don't need houses with 18 bathrooms. You don't need 17 cars. You don't need, the body of a 21-year-old when you're 75. You need to have good people around your life. You need to have good intentions. You need to be spending quality time doing the things you love to do with the people you love to do it, and making that difference. So I hope this show has done that for you. Let me know what I can do for you. I'm the No Excuses Coach. You guys can go with noexcusescoach.com. Love it, love it, love it. Jacqueline Rose in the house. She says, sorry, I wasn't well. We'll catch up with this. My blood pressure has been too high. Kidney doctor worried about me having a stroke. No stroke, Jacqueline. Fucking no excuses order. You take care of yourself, young lady. Anthony says here, learn and don't repeat. Yes. So I'm going to be back here next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. As always, I encourage you guys to check us out on podcast platforms, wherever podcasts are sold. Type in Raw and Unscripted, or type in Christopher Rausch. You'll find my other show, which is called The Unfiltered Experience, which I do on Friday nights with my buddy Scott. Been doing that for about 2.5 years now. So there is no shortage of Christopher Rausch. There's no shortage of what it is that you can do to become unstoppable. Whatever I could do to help you, I'm here to serve, because in this world today, we need to be helping each other, lifting each other up, seeing each other more as equals, and creating the opportunity to make this world a better place for our kids and their kids. I love you guys.